Our brains are for thinking about things, not remembering things. And as creatives, our brains are always on.
But I know along the way you've hit some roadblocks, you've hit some walls, you've probably fallen on your face a few times.
Yep.
We like to say we just kind of fall forward around here and, you know, school of hard knocks,
Yep.
you know, pave the road as we're driving, all that stuff. What are some of those life lessons or business lessons that you've learned along the way that you'd like to share? I mean, anything you know now that you wish you'd known before, or epic failure stories, embarrassing moments?
We'll avoid the really embarrassing ones. I would say one of the things, if I could go back, and I've had people ask me this, if I could go back and start over, I would work just as hard building my own audience intentionally as I would for myself as I do for everybody else from day one, building an email list.
Which is an equal full-time job.
Which is not easy, right? And that's why we don't do it.
That's exactly why the pipes leak at the plumber's house.
You build it up though, and you own you have an audience now. You can start to sell to, and they'll reach out, and it's a great now resource of leads. So that's one thing I would go back and do. Another thing that's been an ongoing struggle, and I think I've gotten a lot better at it. I've always worked from home, right? We just have had the space to do it. And I realize not everybody can. I mean, we're in a remote work world right now because of the pandemic. But the reality is one of the reasons that's been so hard is because a lot of people don't live in houses where they can have a home office. Yeah. It's the kitchen table, it's the bed, it's the sofa. Like, you just don't have a dedicated space to work. I've been fortunate enough to have that. The problem can be, though, and before we bought a house last year, the rental we lived in, my office was just off the kitchen. So I could literally basically see work at any time, almost any time in the house. And if you're not careful and you work from home, and particularly you're a solopreneur or running a business based out of your house, you don't make those create that mental space between work and home stuff.
You're always at work.
And this is one of the things I've seen a lot of people complain about since earlier this year when everybody started working from home. It was like they feel like they're always on work mode now. And I started telling people, like, you got to have a mental commute. One of the values of having an office, I would think, one of the few, is that you literally get time to ease into the workday and then ease back out.
There's an on and off ramp.
And most of us think, I'm going to here's my set time. I've told my spouse or my significant other or myself, I'm going to stop working. We stop and we immediately walk out the door. Within 60 seconds, we're back into the craziness of home life. You've got to have a mental break, or else there's just, our brains aren't desired to switch that quickly. So I've gotten better at it early on. Again, I was building the runway. So I was doing everything I could. There were times I'd work a lot of hours. Because our kids were so young, I always wanted to be intentional of being available and taking advantage of owning my own thing. But it became this thing of, how do I make sure I'm not working all the time, but at the same time I'm still putting the work in that I need to do? And it was that tension of figuring out what that is. How do we enjoy life and enjoy this gift we've given of owning our own business and kind of having a solopreneur style, but at the same time still build something that really provides and grows. Another thing that I would do, and this is something I've gotten back into lately, there's a book called Getting Things Done by a guy named David Allen. It's 20 years old.
Yeah, I had a CD set from that. Yeah,
it's a productivity method, and I've read it several times. I need to read it again to really make it stick. The one thing that he recommends everybody does is what's called a weekly review. Literally set aside 1 to 2 hours every Friday morning, Friday afternoon, but probably better on Fridays, and do a few things. One, clean out all of what he calls your inboxes. So if you put paper in your receipts in your wallet, or paper in your bag, or random notes in your notebook, look at all those things you've just collected throughout the week and just review it and say, okay, what do I need to do with this? Is this a task I need to follow up with somebody on? Do I need to send something to somebody? Do I need to scan this receipt for business expense? Let me just collect all of those random things. And it doesn't take as long as you think. And then let me go back and look at my calendar over the past week. Let me just think back through those conversations. Did I commit to things that I need to do that I forgot to put in my task list to do later? Or does it spark some kind of creative idea that I need to tackle, whatever? And then let me look at the next couple of weeks, what's coming up, and just literally that kind of review. And let me look at a projects list of everything going on. And do I have everything, just stay up to date? That discipline and putting that pillar in your week, I think makes it, I can tell my weeks are radically different when I do it versus when I don't. Because when I do it, I feel a lot clearer about where we're at with client projects. I'm a lot less likely to be the bottleneck because I'll review and go, oh man, I got to get that done. Let me just go ahead and do it, because it'll take me really 90 seconds to send that email. Because there have been a couple of times where projects have taken a lot longer than they should because I became the bottleneck. Because I didn't take time to define the next step. Like literally, what is the next single move that we need to make in order to move this thing forward? Because I would just never give myself time to just sit and review. And so I think that review really gives you a lot of clarity and makes sure you get all of the tasks out of your head, because as David Allen says, our brains are for thinking about things, not remembering things. And as creatives, the blessing and the curse that we have, our brains are always on. I cannot tell you how many times, even this week, I've had an idea for a headline or a subject line or copy of a website for myself or for a client project at the most inopportune times. Yeah. Like cutting up cauliflower last night to endure eating mashed cauliflower because it's healthier than potatoes. Unfortunately,
my wife can make some mean mashed cauliflower.
It's I put cheese on it. I didn't have any bacon, but I tried to do it.
Do cauliflower rice. That's really good too.
I mean, really good is relative.
I need to.
Your doctor says it's really good. How Benihana's and all the fried rice joints say no.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's like I'm sitting there working on something, and I had an idea, something just hit me for a project. So I immediately thought, I can either remember this, even though I'm going to forget it, or I can make a note of it. I pulled my phone out real quick, made a note, and now I'm going to go back and review it literally tomorrow after we record this. And so I think those are some things that I would do every week without fail, is that review process. And then it becomes like, everybody has a version of this, giving more stuff away sooner and being confident to give stuff away. Like I hired an assistant. I wasn't even a year into being on my own. I was like, I just can't keep up with all the admin stuff anymore. So I hired an assistant at 5 hours a week, moved her up to 10 about a year later. And even now it's like, what are some other things I can continue to give away? Just admin stuff that is occupying space in my brain or on my list that I need to get rid of so that I can invest more time in being creative in my business and growing it, and got some ideas for new products and service offerings for my own business that I can invest time and energy and resources in to scale that, as opposed to chasing random stuff.
So I want to sidetrack over here to the personal assistant for a second. Heard a lot about it. Never had one myself.
Yeah.
I've always thought, you know what? You could hire that person, but then by the time I talk to them about what I need them to do, I probably could have already done it. Like, is that, I know that maybe you just need to, how does that work for you? Do you just meet for like 30 minutes and load them up with like 5 hours of work?
Yeah. So the way it works for me is a few things. One, there's a difference between delegating ongoing responsibilities and then ongoing tasks. It's like my virtual assistant has ongoing responsibilities. Like,
that makes sense.
One of the things, because I have so many people wanting on my calendar all the time, is I just have stopped doing my calendar, because I have people who will text me, email me, hit me on link, like all the social channels, say, hey, can we connect? And I have double booked myself more than once, because I'll commit to somebody on like a LinkedIn message and then forget to put it on my calendar. And then they're like, hey, where are you at? And I'm like, oh, my bad. I didn't put it on my calendar. I had another thing. So I just immediately say, hey, can you email me a time you want to get together, and we'll chat, and we'll find a time to chat. Unless it's you, of course. And then you text me, we'll find it. We always find it.
Make way.
But so that's one of the things, managed calendar. She actually will review a lot of my email stuff, just because I get a lot of things that somebody else could answer. You know, it's like, hey, where's this? Do you have, she has all my tax forms or things for new projects if people need a W-9, whatever. So there's some responsibilities that she has, and we'll review those occasionally. And sometimes I'll add.
There's got to be a high level of trust there too, because you're inviting this person in at a high level to take care of some sensitive things.
That's why I actually used a company called Belay, based here in Atlanta, that specializes in that. So they can find great people. And I told them I want somebody who's got project management experience and has copy editing experience, because I'm putting out a lot of content. Sure enough, they found somebody who used to work in a marketing agency, was a project manager, and was a copy editor. Then it becomes, okay, here's my responsibilities, and here's tasks. So we meet on Mondays for 30 minutes every week. And we'll review projects, and they're usually, because I've done my weekly review, I've said, okay, these are some things that need to happen. Here are these things. That are project related, and then sometimes it's just random, ad hoc, just stuff. Delegate those over. And I'm like you, I'm usually will think, well, I could just do it. But the problem there is, we forget that it's not just about doing it, but it's the mental space that it takes up.
Context switch.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine years ago told me every time we context switch, it takes like 17 minutes or so. I don't know where he gets it. He might have just made it up. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it was like some stat basically around there's a set amount of time on average that it takes you to get back into a groove that you just left a minute ago to change tasks. So there's all this time that gets lost in between the task switching and context switching in our brains. Yeah,
so it's the mental capacity, it's the mental space, it's the time space it takes. And then there's some things, it's like as you grow as a business, you have to start having this conversation of, this could take me 20 minutes, or this could take me 30 minutes, let's say. But is that the most profitable use of my 30 minutes? I mean, you have to be like that. And that sounds a little diva-ish, but the reality is, if you're going to build a business or run a business, you have to have those conversations with yourself to decide what's the best use of my time for the sake of what I'm trying to build. Is it to do this task that, it could take me 30 minutes, an hour? Or is it to take 10 minutes to give that away? Now I can offload everything about that task and then instead take that 30 minutes an hour and focus on something else that's going to generate revenue for the business or generate new leads or build a new thing out or move what we're doing forward, as opposed to, well, I got to go do this for an hour.